The third class that you're going to need to familiarize yourself with if you want to learn bolts is the executor. BFExecutor is a class. Its purpose is to run blocks of code on a specific thread. And executors work with either dispatch queues and Grand Central Dispatch, or it can also work with NSOperationQueues. So whichever your preference is for concurrency, you can BFExecutor works with either. Additionally, there's a couple of standard executors that are already created for your use. One is the main thread executor. That allows you to run code on the main thread, and you'll use that a lot when you're wanting to handle continuations in a UI view controller that manipulate the UI. There's an immediate executor and a default executor. I generally don't use the last two that much, but you can read all about it on the bolts wiki. Let's see how I use the executor in the application. To do that, let's head on over to the Champion View Controller, which is in the App module, the Champion Collection View Controller, and let's look at the Query Champions method. This method is used to query the database, the local database, for champion data so that I can display the images and the champion names alphabetically. So here's the actual task that is run. It's a command. And notice that the continuation, that is when I get the query results back, I use the BFExecutor main thread executor to run this block of code on the main thread. So when the query comes back, I actually handle it on the main thread using the BFExecutor main thread executor. Let's dive in here to the query task, and this actually delegates the query to something called the content resolver. Let's just have a look here. So in most cases, when things run concurrently, if you watched my other videos on concurrency, you'll notice that this application follows a pattern where work is done on an execution using an execution queue on one thread, and responses are delivered on something called a completion queue on a different thread. And that kind of allows the execution queue to be as free as possible to do work and offload the work of delivering the results to another thread. And that's what I follow here. And I use Bolt's executor to accomplish that. So for here, I actually run the work on an execution queue using the execution executor, and I'll look in just a second up above where I created that so you can see how that works. And I continue, deliver the results to the caller on the completion queue. So let's head up here to the property. These are just properties. These are BFExecutor instance. There's two in this class, one for execution and one for completion. And if we look here at the initializer, I create an instance of an executor using a dispatch queue. And here I use create the completion executor with a dispatch queue. These are just dispatch queues that I created elsewhere and I passed in on the initializer. So BFExecutors can be created with dispatch queues or NSOperationQueues. I chose in this application to build around dispatch queues, but if you prefer operation queues, then you can use that as well. Once you have your executors, then you can run your work on any queue that you choose. And this is what I use in the application to offload all the work, as much work as possible, off of the main thread so that it remains responsive to the user.